So Supercoach is back for 2024, and I'm so excited. I'm so stoked. It's been too long. It's only been 3 or 4 months, or maybe even less, but it just feels so good. So I haven't posted a video in a year and a half. Maybe it's been a while. So definitely very excited to show my team, my first team, and just talk about a bunch of different players, a bunch of different things you can do with the team picker this year. So I reckon just get straight into it. So just looking at the backline initially, Flanders obviously had a really good season last year. There's a lot of players here, who obviously consider top six defenders here. But the first player that I'm going to be going with is Luke Ryan, I think. So it was between Harry Sheezel or Luke Ryan for me to be my D1 to start the year. And at the end of the day, just Luke Ryan last year, just watching him and just the amount of cheap ball that he got in the back line, the cheap kicks. Even though I think Sheezel's going to improve, I just think that Luke Ryan was 700k last year or something. So I think right now I'm sticking with him, and I could easily go both, but with just how my structure is right now, I've got Luke Ryan there as my number one. So I'm really also trying to not go with players who have that initial buy, even with the flex position. I'm really trying to avoid, someone like Flanders, who is the number one player, someone like Lockie Whitfield, Dane Zorko, and those kinds of players. So my D2 here to start it is actually going to be Jack Sinclair. So I think this might be a popular option. I really don't know. Obviously, I'm going to be one of the first people to put out a video on this, so I really don't know who people are going to be targeting. But, there are a lot of great options, but I just see Jack Sinclair with his role in the midfield, and then maybe he goes back to half back now where he can get a lot of the ball back there. There's no Riley Bonner back there anymore. He's going to need a lot more of the ball. No more Josh Battle. So he could have a really good role next year. Average 110. I think in his prime, he's been a 116, 117, maybe. I'm not really too sure, like maybe the year before with Sicily and him as the top two. So I really like him as my D2. Scrolling down a bit further, there's a lot more options, a lot of good options. I'm looking obviously at Dan Houston. He's suspended first week and he's got the bye as well, so he'll be a trade-in option. Scrolling down a bit further, someone like a Jordan Clark is someone that I did think about, but probably won't go there. No to Ridley, no to Nick Newman. Yeah, there's a lot of players here. Someone like Sicily I'll probably end up trading in. Bailey Dale is one I looked at this year. Averaged 98 last year. Obviously had the sub game. He was really good. I think I had him in my team last year. But right now, I won't be going with him as a starter. But I'm just going to scroll a bit further to the player that I will be taking. And it's Colby McKercher. He averaged 88.5 last year as a first-year player. Obviously, Sheezel went full-time mid. He was, battling injuries. Zach Fisher probably won't have as prominent of a role. I could see Colby McKercher going into the midfield, which would obviously really, really help his production. But averaging 88.5 as a first year, I could easily see him being a keeper, a top six defender. And I really like him right now. Obviously, it's still day one. There's a lot to still, hear about in the preseason, but it is cool to, see how my team will change between now and the start of the year. So the next player, I'm not going to scroll through it. I'm just going to type him in. It's Callum Mills. 357k, that is a really good price. Could easily make 150 playing mid again. Obviously, we've seen him be 650, even 700 he got at one point in 2022. He was 700k and the best player in the game for a couple rounds there. So having Callum Mills, I think at 350k is an absolute steal. He does have the buy early in the year, which is annoying, but I think that the amount of money he'll make, he'll just, hurt me too much. And that was really a thing with my team last year, was that I did have a lot of players that I had, and I traded in someone like a Nick Day because he was killing me at the start, and then I trade him in, gets a 50, and I wasted a lot of trades with players who had buys around that point. This year, I really, really want to try and avoid that. But as I say that, the next player that I have is actually Kadeem Coleman, who is also someone that has a buy. He obviously got injured in the first game of last year. He will be straight into the team. 267k or 269k, sorry. my dyslexia right there. But Kadeem Coleman is someone that I definitely think will have a lot of upside in Supercoach. I think I did maybe start him last year. I can't remember if I did or not. But he was definitely someone that I was looking at last year. Now with that even cheaper price than last year, I think he's definitely someone to target. So I think that there are a lot of other players that could be taken around that 250k mark. I'm just scrolling down there now to that point. But the next player that I have is the rookie from St Kilda, Toby. I think it's Trevor Gila. I don't know how to say his name. I'm still learning all the names of I know the names of the players, but the pronunciation. Obviously, there's been no commentators, or anything. But this guy, I've been seeing, talks about him playing midfield or having spurts in midfield this year. 172k. Obviously, these rookies are a bit of place holding right now, but he is someone who I've got in my team right now. And then for rookies, there's two options here. So one of the options is Josh Goda, who's 151k. He is someone that I've looked at. And then the other option, who I think I will be going for, who I picked last year, is Josh Gibkiss, who tore his ACL, which is obviously extremely unfortunate, last year in round 1. But he's a player. He's a really good player. And he should definitely be in the team. There's going to be a lot of Richmond, rookies that a lot of people will have. And I think right now I'm just going to lock in Gibkiss, but obviously it's the first day. The game came out maybe 2 months ago. Sorry, 2 months ago. What am I saying? Like 2 hours ago, sorry. So it's still very, very new. And then the other player who is also just a placeholder for now is Luke Trainer. I don't know how to say. I'll learn the names. I'll look back on this and be like, I'm just pronouncing everything wrong. But he's just a placeholder right now. But most likely there will be a lot of Richmond players who will be in my team. There's obviously Richmond has got a lot of rookies and a lot of young players that will be getting consistent games. So we may as well move on to the midfield now. And again, I'm really going with the same route as last time, or as what I did with the defenders, and I'm going with no one who's got that bye as a premium. So the first player is Bontempelli. I think he's just a must. I want a sure thing captaincy from round 1, and I will have that. We'll probably with Luke Ryan anyway, or my Ruckman, who we'll get to a bit later. But having Bontempelli just be that certified every week, you can back him in as the captain, or the vice captain, one of the two. I think that safety is really good, and not have to. Even though he's 680, it's a really high price. I don't want to worry about trading him in. Like, I worried too much about trading in star players last year, and I missed out on Butters and Sarong last year. Don't want that to happen again. So I'm going to start with the stars. I'm going to set and forget, and pick a lot of rookies. So I'm really going with the guns and rookies route, as you can see with my next player, Zach Butters. So I've got M1 and M2 of last year with Butters and Bontempelli. Both don't have the bye, and just set and forget these guys. I think, for me personally, I don't want to worry about them. I know what I'm going to get from Butters, and I know what I'm going to get from Bontempelli. And they play every game. They play well every game. Butters, I think, he's just a great player. Averaged maybe 28, 29 touches last year. Was an All-Australian again. And just the amount of times, I've just seen him go crazy, get 140s, 150s, 160s without having him. This year's going to be different. This year I'm going to have him, so I'm locking him in. And then the third guy, who is like a real uber premium, obviously I've looked at Neil, and Nick Dacos as well, and Heaney, but they all have that bye, and I don't want that. I really don't want that bye in the first 6 rounds or whatever. Treloar had a great year last year, but 628k for a guy that over the course of his career has been very injury prone is not really somewhere that I want to go. So the next guy is Sarong, someone that I missed out on last year, and I don't think I've had before. Maybe I would have had him at some point, but having Bontempelli, Butters, and Sarong, they're 3 big guys. I only had Bontempelli last year. I didn't have all 3. This year's going to be different. I'm not doing anything silly. I'm not getting any of these guys, that have a bye. I'm just setting and forgetting these guys, having them for the year, and not having to worry about it. So if we keep scrolling down here, obviously, Merritt's got the bye, Dunkley's got the bye. Cripps does not have the bye, but I don't want Patrick Cripps. He had a great year last year, the best year of his career by far, and still only averaged 110. And I don't think he's going to go that high again. So I'm staying away from him. Andy Brayshaw, he could be an option, But I just really want to set and forget these, I don't really want to pick anyone around this 580 to 600 range. I want the uber premiums, and then I've got one other player who I'm looking at through here. LDU is another option. He's just gotten better every season. Sorry. He's gotten better every season, but I think I'm staying away from him. Obviously still very early. Steele, no. Walsh, no. Goulden, no. Anderson and Gray. So all these guys I'm staying away from. So we'll just scroll down to the next guy that I have, and it's Christian Petrarca, who is coming off a full preseason. He's been training hard, back early, long rest. Obviously had the big injury last year and the whole Melbourne scandal and stuff, or not scandal, whatever you want to call it. But he will be, if he wants to get traded, he's going to play his ass off this year. He's going to play very, very hard this year. He's going to put up, hopefully, career numbers or close to where his career numbers were, which is maybe when he was a 670k player, and I think that's great value, having him here at 560. So he's the next guy. I've also looked at someone like a Jordan Dawson, but last year just wasn't that good, so don't want to lock him in. Just scrolling through, Ed Richards was someone that was really good last year, burst onto the scene. Same with John Newcomb, just gotten better every year. I do think I'm going to stay away from him. I'm just going to scroll down just to make sure that I don't really miss anyone that is worthwhile talking about. I guess Clayton Oliver could be an option for some people. Definitely staying away from him for me. I had him last year and it was just an awful experience. An awful experience. Ashcroft at 441k is another option. Obviously dominated the finals series last year. He could be someone that people will target. I've thought about him, but right now he's not going to be in my starting, the initial first team. Harley Reid's another one. I don't think I'll be taking him. I love watching him, but 434k. If he was maybe 3, I don't really know. I don't really know what his ceiling is. I don't know. Like I said, I know what his ceiling is as a player, but for Supercoach, I'm really not too keen on him. So I don't actually have any of these players all the way down to rookies. I've really gone the guns and rookies approach, as you can see. So I'll just start to fill in a lot of the rookies that I have. So Sam Laylor's obviously the first one. I think everyone's going to have him in the team. Pick 1. I don't have, I think it's pick 2 and 3, or maybe 2 and 4, or 3 and 4, whatever. But I don't have the O'Sullivan and I think, what's the other guy's name? I should definitely know, it's Jagger Smith. I don't have either of them as players in my starting team. Finn O'Sullivan, I'm not really too sure about yet. And Jagger Smith playing midfield with an already stacked midfield at the Blues, not overly keen about yet. I've got Sid Draper in my team. He looks great. I've also got Levi Ashcroft, of course. He should be straight into the best 22. So I really don't know too much about most of these rookies, but I've got Josh Smiley in. I really don't know who's good and who's not good yet. So I've got that, and I've got Leo Lombard as well, who looks really, really good. And Angus Sheldrick's another one. He didn't play at all last year for the Swans, but gee, I just think, I think he should be in the best 22, and I'm a Swans fan. I think he's a really, really good player, really strong, and he's a player, that obviously Sydney didn't really have in the grand final in 2022 or 24, a real big-bodied, hard-nosed, well, he's not like that big-bodied, but he's a big, strong, he's kind of like a row-bottom type. So to have another one of those Bulls in there, I think will really help Sydney. So I could really see, more Heaney and Chad pushing towards the forward line. I don't think that Taylor Adams will be in the best 22, not hope, but I don't really think he will be there. And I think Angus Sheldrick should demand a spot in the best 22. So I've got him in there right now. Obviously, all of this is still subject to change, but that's just kind of where I'm looking at right now. And then just looking at my notes, the last guy that I've got here is just a placeholder, I think. Yeah, Cooper Hines. I don't know if he's going to play or not, but what I do know is that Bevo always gives his guys a chance. He gives everyone a go. So he might actually eventually be in my team. I have no idea, though. I've got really no clue. So now moving on to the rucks and the flex position as well. So my plan will probably be to have either 9 midfielders as premiums or have 3 rucks. But right now, what I'm going to do is have Tristan Cherry as my ruckman. He's my number 1 ruck. I think Max Gorn's just probably a bit too overpriced, especially with his age. Like, saying that, he'll still go 115, 120, maybe even still go the same, but I just don't think the risk is as high with Cherry. and he was just incredible last year. Loved watching him. Tackles hard, which obviously gives you a lot of points. Freeze fall gives you points, all that stuff. He does a bit of everything, Tristan Cherry, and I think he's just a player that I definitely want to have on my team. So now, Rowan Marshall, I did look at, but I'm pretty sure they're bringing in a second ruck. I'm not really too sure who or what the guy's name is, but I think I'm steering away from Rowan Marshall as a starter. Nane Curvers I had last year, and he was serviceable, but I don't think I'll be going there again. I could, but the player I'm going to go with is scrolling down a little bit further here to Tom De Koning. Obviously, Carlton is not playing in round 0 this season. Tom De Koning in the back half of last year was just great, and he was unbelievable. Had that 4 or 5 game stretch of averaging 140 or 150, and I don't think there's going to be really anyone. Let me just check. I don't think there's going to be anyone fighting for his place. If I just have a look, obviously Pitnett's there, but I think now Carlton's got to know TDK's the number 1 guy. We're going to give him all the ruck minutes, and that's why he's in my team for now, because of just what he managed to do last year. He could easily average 650 if he gets that same role that he had last year. So then I'll just go straight down to the flex position actually here, because I've got another ruckman that I'm picking here, and he's from West Coast, and it's Matt Flynn. So only 260k, and his competition's BJ Williams. Having him as a flex is actually really, really good, because normally I think I've had Kieran Briggs as my R3 before. I think I've had, I can't remember who else. Jordan Sweet, obviously, who's a bit more pricey as my R3. So having this flex position is actually great for a ruckman, for having a third ruck, and I imagine most people will end up doing this as their flex position. And then at my R3 is just a placeholder as well, or not even a placeholder. It's a... Why can't I scroll down? I don't know why I can't scroll down any further, but the guy's name is Riddle. What the heck? Have I, done something with the filters here? I have. How do you get rid of the filters? I can't see anyone under 100k. That's really weird. But I do have a 10 on a 99 whatever placeholder. This is really, really strange. I'll cut this out. I'm just going to refresh the page so that hopefully I can pick the guy that I want to pick. Not forwards. What am I doing? There we go. Aiden Riddle. I'll just keep saving the team as I go. I don't want to lose anything. So, yeah, now I guess moving on to the forward line, where there are a lot of really solid options this year. Horn Francis is F1, and I don't think I'll be starting him. I don't think I'll be starting him or Moore or Rankin or actually any of these guys at all. Even though there are a lot of options. Gee, Neil Bullen's 460 somehow. I don't really know how he's 460, but he is. There are a lot of players here. Liam Baker's another one. I won't be going to any of these guys, and I will be trading in forwards because obviously they're cheaper. It'll be easy to trade in. So the player that I've got as my F1 to start the year, Shea Bolton's another one that I did look at, but I'm not taking. The guy that I will be taking, it's not Bailey Smith either. So there's a lot of players here. There's a lot of really, really good options here. And the player that I will take, did I go past him? I'll just write him in. It's Jack McRae, 392k. Should be playing midfield. Well, you wouldn't think he'd move to St Kilda if he wasn't playing midfield. So Jack McRae, I think he'll be in pretty much every single team. You can't see the percentages of teams yet, but I would assume that Jack McRae is a guy that's in everyone's teams. And then the second guy is another one that is cheaper priced, obviously, and it's Riley Sanders, who did hurt a lot of people last year because of Bevo, but having Bailey Smith leave, having Caleb Daniel leave, just a lot of the positions, I'm forgetting someone else as well, but I think Riley Sanders should demand more midfield time in his second year. We know what he can do, and I think he'll be great. You know, obviously you've got Richards, you've got Treloar, and you've got Bontempelli, and you've got Libba, so there are a lot of options there in that midfield, but I reckon they'll work it out, and they'll have to put Sanders in. He's too good of a player to be, getting forward and putting the VFL. He's too good for that. So he's in my team right now. I don't know if that'll stick, but I reckon he's good enough if he can get the role that he really deserves. So the next player is from the St Kilda Football Club again, and it's Matheus Filippo, who had only averaged 58 last year, but he had a really good run in the back half of the season, or the back maybe 5 or 6 games of the season where he really took off, averaged maybe 85 to 90, and I think he can really replicate this year and or next year and build off of that. Obviously, I don't really know what the situation is with St Kilda in their midfield situation. I obviously know Steele's going to be in there. You know McRae's going to be in there. You don't really know whether or not we're going to see a lot of Sinclair in the midfield or the backline, or not that I've really heard of yet, but I think Filippo will demand some midfield time. Well, he should. He played really, really good there, and you obviously want to utilise your young players. So I've got Filippo there for now. And the next guy is Caleb Daniel. There is just a lot of options, a lot of really, really good mid-priced and cheap options in this forward line. So I really love the Caleb Daniel pick. Should get the half-back role at North, you would imagine. Him and McKercher maybe, or McKercher goes midfield or whatever it is. I don't think Fish will be best 22, or I hope he won't, and I hope that they prioritise playing Daniel and maybe O'Sullivan off the half-back. He's obviously a midfielder, but might see him off the half-back, similar to what they've done with McKercher and with Sheasel. So, we'll see what happens with that, but Caleb Daniel at 269k is someone that you just can't really pass up on, I don't think. And the next guy is another St Kilda guy. So I've picked, 5 St Kilda guys after this? I'm picking Jack Carroll, who I've heard good things about. He could be another one getting midfield time. So there are a lot of players who potentially get midfield time on this Saints team. I don't really know who's actually going to get it, but right now I think Jack Carroll is I think he's a really, really good option right now, and someone that I will be looking at. Then the next guy is from Geelong, and it's Jack Martin. He's the next guy I've got there. There was another guy that I was looking at. I'll get back to Martin, but the other guy I was looking at was Mitch Lewis. I don't know when he'll come back, but being 178k for a star key forward, even though he tore his ACL, I don't know when he'll be back. I don't know if that's going to be close to round 1 or if that's going to be middle of the year. But whenever he does come back, I reckon he will be a genuine shout, because at 178k, that's a lot of value. He has one game where he kicks 5 or 6, and that price skyrockets up to 300k just like that. So Mitch Lewis is one I'm looking at. I'm not going to take him. And back on Jack Martin, 150k. If they can get him on the park, and Geelong, is known for being able to do that, performing miracles. Obviously, Jack Martin, we know what his ceiling is. He's a star player. Should be priced around the 350 to 400k. So being 150k is just a real low ball for him. So if he can get on the park and string together a couple of good games, or just a couple of games, they don't have to be good, he's going to skyrocket that price. And then 2 more rookies here. We've got Isaac Kako as one of them, and then we've got, I think it's Matt Whitlock as, Matt Whitlock right there. And that rounds out my team. So Kako should be playing. He's a small forward. Obviously, you guys probably know who he is. And then Matt Whitlock should be getting games at North Melbourne, you'd think, as a key defender, I think, or a key... I don't really know too much about these rookies at all. But just placeholders here, so yeah, I'll just save the team. And that's kind of what the team's looking like right now. So the only real players that are on my team that are playing in the round 0 game are Callum Mills and Kadeem Coleman. And obviously, that's subject to change. Don't know if they're going to be in the team or not. But this year, I'm really looking to not worry too much about, or not pick too many players, unless it's someone that you can't really pass up on. It's gonna hurt if Dacos is averaging 150 to start the year. It will hurt if that's happening, but I just don't think I can justify it this year after how much it killed me last year. Doing that, I reckon that I will stick with players that aren't playing in that, and there are really good options. So yeah, I'm not too sure if I'm gonna go with Ryan or Sheasel. Honestly, I could easily see myself going with Harry Sheasel instead of Luke Ryan. I don't really know yet who I'm going to take. They're both great options. They're both players that I will have. It will probably... a lot can change. I'll probably end up picking both. But if I was to pick one of the two, it would really just be who has a better, an easier fixture in the early part of the season. Who plays Richmond first, and who has an easier run to start the year, who plays St Kilda earlier. And that'll really decide who is my who was my starting D1, or whether I have both, I don't really know yet. But obviously they'll both end up being in my team eventually. Jeez, honestly, now I'm looking at it, I might actually put Sheasel in. He's just improving every year. He's just getting better and better. Luke Ryan probably won't do better than 116, and Sheasel averaged more than that last year. So, yeah, you know what? I'll go with Sheasel. Still a lot to change, but that's my team right there. So, going with, I guess you can say 3 premiums as defenders, and then Mills as well, and Coleman as well. And then you go on 4 premiums in the midfield for me. Obviously, Bont, Butters, Sarong, and Petrarca are the 4 I'm going with right now. And then, obviously, it's a Guns and Rookies approach in the midfield as well. The Ruck line, it's Cherry and De Koning. Still a lot could change there. Could be Nankervis, could be Gorn, could be Rowan Marshall. I don't really know yet. Could be English, but probably not. He hurt me last year, so I probably won't go with him. And then the forward line, it's no premiums, I guess, but I assume that most of these guys will end up being premium caliber players. So, yeah, and then my flex position is Matt Flynn, which I really, really like. Having that third guy there, and he'll be, well, not cover. He obviously won't be a cover player, but having this like flex thing in general means that you have cover, which is really, really good. So I'm very excited Supercoach is back, and thank you guys for watching. I will hopefully start bringing out more Supercoach videos in the future. I plan to. So, yeah, see you guys in the next video.